guys remember Nathanos? His entire cinematic at the start of Shadowlands. Tyrande mentioning him later on, and now 9.2.5 is over, Shadowlands is effectively over, and he is pretty much nowhere to be found. At the same time, did you ever wonder, since we defeated the jailer, who even really was this guy? Why is he called the jailer? What happened to the Maw, Torghast? Is the entire thing exactly the same as before? Like, is the realm gone? Are we gonna end this realm? Who is in charge? What is going on with Elune? Who are these Devourers? And these are just some of the questions. As Shadowlands is effectively over, we will get Dragonflight pre-patch in a few months, and the expansion will be out more than likely by the end of the year. So let us take a look at all the loose ends and mysteries in regards to the Shadowlands. This is a game all of you guys know. The sponsor of this video, PUBG Mobile, one of the most popular free mobile battle royales with over 50 million active players. Play solo, with friends, in duo and squad, or in one of the 10 other game modes in first person and third person, with new and exclusive fun content to discover every single week. What is really cool is that the game has regular collaborations with famous IPs such as Evangelion, Baby Shark, Boys, in order to create new skins and customization options for your characters and weapons. But what is even cooler is the brand new official map, Livik. Now you can face off 51 other players in this small but dynamic map with various mini games all over the place. Use the zipline to escape, or reach the enemy as you ride in the air and go from one point to the other, or find secret treasure maps all over the place to get exceptional loot and to get that chicken dinner. It's never really been a better time to start. Get PUBG Mobile with my link in the description below, discover the new map, and join the Battle Royale. The Nathrezim. So, do you guys remember the Nathrezim, the guy that pretty much single-handedly carried the Shadowlands storyline and made it at least slightly interesting? Well, we learned about this crazy invasion in Revendreth with the light and the captured Naru. Then we learned that the Dreadlords are from his realm, he created them, he exiled them, that the Dreadlords and all the events have been orchestrated by the Nathrezim from Revendreth. Then we learned he originally imprisoned Zoval, but for some reason later on he became his most loyal agent, and he pretty much single-handedly helped him escape. He siphoned the anima from his own realm, but he was ultimately defeated, and then we imprisoned him inside his own blade Remordia. Then, in 9.1, his Dreadlords infiltrated the Shadowlands and recovered him, and that was pretty much all there was to his storyline, despite Blizzard saying that they plan to use his character a lot more in the future, you know, his cool voice actor and everything. Like, what is going on? Where did they take him? What was his goal? What was his perspective? These are all the loose ends that we have zero answers to, and really, we can only speculate. Seeing that his flashback was the focal point of the expansion and cinematic, it is more than likely a hint that he had some master plan behind the scenes, and that he is ultimately the one that used Zoval despite actually helping him. However, what was his plan? Who even is this guy, and will he return? Really are just mysteries that we have no idea about at this point. Devourers. You must have seen the Devourers all throughout the Shadowlands, and there was really so much potential for them to be something just outworldly crazy. Literally, apparently, the creatures made for balance now suddenly turn against the first one order of the universe, and they started eating anima and just appearing everywhere. It was really a big scare, like it was the end of the world. They were supposed to be at least a little bit more than just simple mobs and animals, and a lot of us speculated that this had to do with another dimension, or that they were a key to learn what really was going on behind the scenes in this crazy first one universe. There was some really interesting speculations going around the community and how they may be eating worlds, destroying them, but as Shadowlands ended, these guys were literally just thematic mobs, and I think Blizzard doesn't really even know what they plan to do with them. It is possible that we could see them again, but since they remain the Shadowlands thing, I honestly doubt we will be seeing them again in the future. Varian and Varrock. So, remember when Anduin was broken by Zoval, and then he did a bunch of terrible things all throughout the Shadowlands? We defeated him, and ultimately there was this power struggle inside his own mind that ultimately allowed him to escape. His father's blade, Charlemagne was turned into Kingsborn by the jailer, and for some unknown reason, Varian and Varrock were inside the blade. However, what were they doing there? Were these their actual souls? Just fragments, memories? Like, what was actually going on? This was never really explained. I mean, Varian kind of makes sense. It was his own blade, and he put the two swords into one as his soul reunited back like years ago, so this soul connection does make sense. But what exactly was the orc Saurfang doing inside Anduin's blade? I mean, he borrowed it to him for like a single minute in total, and he just managed to cause a small cut to Sylvanas with it. I'm guessing it is related to the fact that he managed to split the blades with the entire for Azeroth with his own will, but this was never actually explained by Blizzard. Were their souls actually in the blade? Were these just memories? Was this just fiction of Anduin's mind? Like, what happened to them? Were they freed? Are they free now? I guess we just really don't know. Nathanos. So, do you remember when this guy was one of the most important characters in BFA? Then Blizzard literally decided to dedicate an entire cinematic to Nathanos where he was just getting wrecked by Tyrande. Then he had this really crazy grin, how he has a giga brain IQ and how we're all just stupid because he is about to reunite with his queen and get his hands on the plans that we, of course, are really just stupid mortals that we know nothing about. Well, nothing happened at the start. Then we got that long-expected Tyrande and Sylvanas duel, and Tyrande was like, the jailer, wow, he didn't really tell you anything about Nathanos, and Sylvanas was super shocked and just attacked. Then she had this little line about reuniting, and now 9.2.5 is over, Dragonflight is coming out in a few months, and literally nothing is going on with Nathanos. A lot of us expected to see this guy in 9.2.5, yet he was nowhere to be found. To me, honestly, it seems like he was meant to have a really big role in the expansion. Then for some reason, Blizzard decided to just like scrap like half of the expansion, and he was in this scrapped half, making the entire storyline just not make any sense overall. So we have a really detailed cinematic as he pretty much opened Shadowlands, but we didn't really get the other half. So in my opinion, he will more than likely appear in the future, but it seriously seems like to me like he was meant to have a really big role in the Shadowlands that he ultimately did not get. Big Bat. So, at the end of Shadowlands, we were left with possibly the biggest cliffhanger in all of World of Warcraft history. We've got BFA, which was essentially just setting up the ground for this big evil that was the jailer that changed the Warcraft lore from the core, like, literally. This dude was just behind everything, from the Lich King to the corruption of Sargeras and everything in between. He taunted us throughout the entire expansion with his bad guy villain voice, and then when we defeated him, suddenly he was like, I just wanted to unite the universe for what is to come. Now, 9.2.5 is over, Shadowlands is over, we are going to the Dragon Isles, and we have no idea what is this, what is to come. Turns out there is a puppet master yet again behind another puppet master, and at the moment we have pretty much nothing to work with in order to come up with a concrete answer to any of this. Brokers. Remember Venari? And when these guys were all the rage of the speculations, we really believed there was some crazy storyline behind the scenes, that the brokers were maybe ethereals that passed during the Void Lord invasion, that they knew something that we didn't, that we would see their homeworld and we would really be shocked when we learned the truth about who these guys actually are. Then we had the mysterious Venari. Then in 9.2.5 she made a brief appearance where she faked her own death, but ultimately in the end we didn't really learn anything. I'm guessing with this 9.2.5 hint they're planning to show us brokers again, especially as they were important in Senet Mortis, but nonetheless I feel like there is just so much wasted potential with them. Like, who are these guys? Like, what do they want? Why are they searching for information? What is their homeworld? With the fact that Blizzard literally built an entire city for a dungeon, I feel like they had a lot more planned for them as they created all these assets than they ultimately showed us, especially as they were key in 9.2 and that their storyline was really more than likely in that scrapped half of the Shadowlands. Jailer's imprisonment. So this guy was named the Jailer even though he was the one imprisoned by his own supposed family, which in itself doesn't really make any sense. Later on it made a bit of sense since he turned the prison into his own weapon, but since no one knew that, like, why did they call him the Jailer, not the Jailed? However, despite them showing him being in prison because he wanted to change the universe, Blizzard never actually explained to us why all this happened. There was that 10-second flashback in that last cinematic that we still have no idea what the context of that was. Were they at war? What exactly did he do? Why was he banished in an entire realm dedicated to him? Like, why did he hate this guy so much? Seriously, what is it that this guy had done? Are they really in the wrong, or was he in the wrong? Seeing that Zowal was now defeated, he's a stone statue essentially, I guess we will never actually learn what was the case that caused all this, unless this what is to come that he mentioned is going to be relevant in Dragonflight. Lich King. One of the biggest changes of Shadowlands was the fact that it almost completely altered the lore of the Lich King, aka really the most iconic character in the entire franchise. We learned that Zowal was behind Frostmourne, the Lich King was his own project, but ultimately his own creation failed him, and through Bolvar it prevented and slowed down his mission. Seeing that Arthas' soul was essentially destroyed, as we had seen him in 9.2, and their soul was tortured as a failure in 9.1, it is obvious that he didn't exactly like these guys, despite actually creating them. However, the real question is, what was exactly the relationship? We can like sort of guess, but we never really got any concrete information. Did he really control them? Were the Lich Kings just trying to do their own thing? Did they actively oppose the Jailer? I guess we will never actually know. Elune. Elune was sort of unexpectedly a really important part of the Shadowlands. We learned that she's the sister of the Winter Queen who controls the Shadowlands realm Ardenweald, while Elune is somehow a life goddess. But all of this is really just based on speculation because we have actually no idea what is going on. We know that she prevented Tyrande from going crazy and she took her Night Warrior powers. She convinced her to focus on renewal, and the two sisters were apparently not in good relations, but now they are, and the Winter Queen gave them this seed that will more than likely be relevant in Dragonflight as it was present in 9.2, and it sort of had an open ending. However, who even is Elune? Why is she important? What is she to Azeroth? And how is she possibly the sister of an Eternal One in the Shadowlands? It really doesn't make any sense. I'm guessing in Dragonflight with Ysera we might learn more about it, as Shadowlands was possibly setting it up, but pretty much the entire expansion has been completely vague in regards to this matter, despite her having a pretty major role. Maw and Torghast. The Maw was essentially Shadowlands itself, and most importantly, there was Torghast, the main tower of the Jailer, the seat of evil, and a new feature of the Shadowlands, which I gotta admit was actually interesting for a few months. The thing is though, we defeated the Jailer, Shadowlands is over, and we now know Sylvanas is out there in the Maw rescuing souls that she could condemn there. However, we have no idea what is actually happening. What is the current status of the Maw? What even is the Maw? Who created it? Are the Maw swords still around? Like, were they freed? What is going on around in Torghast? Since there is no more Zowal, who is in charge of the tower? Who is controlling it? Is it just abandoned? Did we conquer it? Did we turn it into a base? Also, what will be the fate of Kortia and the Maw in general? Should we just rescue the souls and bury this realm, maybe creating something new, or just avoid it and never speak of it again? Thank you for watching. Check out this Blizzard Alliance bias by clicking on the screen, and check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.